All right, so we're trying to understand these net sheets and more. So the more will be, I'll show you very quickly how to do a title quote, which I might show you first because it takes literally 5 seconds. And then if we have time and you're interested, I could show you how to do a buyer estimate for a cash deal only. You guys don't have lender's numbers. We're not trying to play lender. We just want to give people these estimates on a cash deal. If people are interested in just seeing what the like what our rates are and stuff like that, I recommend you just send them the title quote if they're dealing with a lender. Okay, so that's kind of where we're starting. This is the first thing which catches everybody else or catches everyone up because 99% of this net sheet is common sense. You already have the answers. You already know what the commission is, the close date. It's always the taxes. Okay. So in Ohio, the taxes are in arrears. Time for my dad joke because people still say it, and I want you to stop saying it if you do. It is not in the rears. It's called arrears. All right. Even though taxes are in the rears, arrears is the word. All right. So basically, it's money that's owed that should have been paid earlier. So, like real estate taxes in Ohio are in arrears. What does that mean? So, taxes that were owed in 2024 are not payable in 2024. I'm sure, and that there's not going to be a show of hands here, but I'm sure you guys have said or dealt with clients. I already paid my taxes in 2024. I don't owe anything. Okay. Taxes from last year are paid in the current year. So we're very close to the next year. So right now, the 2025 taxes it's impossible to pay them. You cannot pay the auditor for these bills. The first bill that's going to come is going to be the first half of 2020. Well, we'll use this example since we're still in 2025. January 1st through June 30th of 2024 is billed and due. It's probably billed around December, but it's due typically in January and February of 2025, depending on the county, depending on if they're having their big like 6-year appraisal, could be a little bit later. Depending on a lot of things, like depending on COVID, that pushed taxes out to like March because the county was on a limited basis. And who knows, we could have a huge outbreak again. Counties are short staffed and we could be in another weird mess. You never know what could affect these. But standard January to February of the following year is when the first half of the prior year is due. And then the second half, July 1st through December 31st of whatever year is payable in July the following year. Okay. We are almost at the end of October. That let's for math's sake, let's say we're 10 out of 12 months of taxes that have accumulated in 2025 that your seller would have to credit to the buyer because the buyer is paying the tax bill for the year your seller lived in it. Does that make sense? If anyone that doesn't make sense, please speak up now. So, and we're going to show you with real numbers and how we do it. Yeah.
When that is rolled into the taxes rolled into their loan, it works the same exact way, just on a month-to-month basis. Is that right?
Yeah. So, and again, the lenders, what they collect at closing is always different. It's kind of like, I feel like you wish you could just say it's going to be this amount of months every single time. But what the bank does is, yes, it takes the taxes that they collect at the closing, put them into an escrow account, of which then they pay them the half year bills. You see that as part of your escrow charge within your principal and interest escrow and your real or and your property tax, homeowner's insurance. I'm sorry. So there's the four components, right? Property or principal and insurance, your taxes, and your homeowner's insurance. So the escrow builds each month so that there is enough money to pay it each 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
So for those of you who have your own mortgages, and then you get that fun letter around your annual time of when you actually got your loan, you're like, oh, your escrow account is short. My payment is going up because my taxes went up or my homeowner's insurance went up. These are the reasons why your payments go up like every year in one certain month. Your principal and interest don't change. It's just those two are variable. Lord knows homeowners insurance has gotten crazy. And with the increase in property taxes, obviously most people, it's already hit them. And I'm going to ask, does anyone know what year Cuyahoga County did their big appraisal where everyone's taxes got jacked way up? Was it 2 years ago?
I think it was
3 years
last
ago?
year.
Was it last year? Okay. So the way that they do this is it's on a 6-year basis for the big one. The big ones where you definitely see some sort of a change. At the 3-year benchmark, all they do is look at data and look at outliers. So taxes aren't definitely going to go up for people, but like say you bought a house that was valued at $300,000 last time they did this appraisal, but now it's worth $700,000. If the county sees enough of this in their data, those people could, not definitely, but could see an increase in their taxes on the 3-year kind of look back. Just food for thought. It has nothing to do with today, just kind of talking about it. All the counties kind of do it the same way. And all the counties are on like different staggered years of when they do their big appraisal. I feel like Geauga might have been the year before Cuyahoga, or maybe Lake was, but whatever. Don't get too much in the weeds on that. I kind of already went over this right here about things we can do within this app. Another really cool one is the sell to net. Sell to net, you would set up as a net sheet, but instead of starting with the purchase price, you're trying to figure out what you could sell this for, and they're going to come away with X amount of dollars that they need to. So you guys can imagine back when the market was so nice in say 2010 and everyone was underwater and they're trying to find their literal zero break even, or maybe they say, I'm okay if I have to bring 5,000 to the table just to get this thing off my hands. You'd start with zero as the top number. You'd add in the commission, you'd add in this, you'd add in what they owe on their mortgage, and then it's going to give you basically what you should list the house for so that they could come up with the zero. Or if someone's is buying another house and they need to clear $200,000, you would start with the $200,000, and it basically works the math backwards for you. So you don't have to just keep putting in a million prices and hoping to guess that you hit the right spot. But that's called the sell to net. You may or may not ever use it. Every now and then I do get that request to run it. Here's kind of the things we need. And I can share these slides when we're done. And I think this is going to be recorded as well. So some of it's pretty obvious, and I think I got them mostly in the order that they show up on the net sheet. So your address, your price, your close date. If you know their mortgage payoff, you could put it in there. When I first started, I was scared to put this in there because if they give you the wrong number, it's going to affect the bottom line in a wrong way. So if they give you what they think their mortgage payoff is, you could put it in there. And then when you send it to them in an email or present it to them, literally write on there or type in the email, this was based off the information you gave me. So if your payoff is different, it could affect your bottom line. But I feel like a lot of people have a pretty good idea roughly of what it is. Everyone's mostly got equity these days, so it's not as tight, but just a warning there with the payoffs. The commission portion, you're going to be able to see that you could do split commissions or you could do straight commissions. You could put them in for both list agent and buyer's agent. One capability it doesn't have that you might still have to do by hand are like 3 splits. So if someone's got a 3 on the first 100, a 2 up to 500,000, and then 1% on 500,000 to $1 million, it doesn't take 3 numbers. It'll only take 2. So that one you still might need to do by hand. Or you could put it in as a straight dollar amount. It doesn't have to be a percentage. You could do it either way. The half year taxes, there's going to be 3 drop downs. Was the first half paid? Was the whole year paid? Or was none of it paid? We'll get into that once we open up the actual net sheet. Home warranty is something that you'd actually type in at the bottom as an additional expense to a seller. Literally just type in home warranty and drop the amount in, pretty easy. There used to be no seller concession field, so you'd actually have to put it in like home warranty, but that now exists. You can put that in as a percentage or as a dollar amount. Any other adjustments for any goofy reason? I know some agents might pay for the painting contractor and have it paid out of closing or something. If you wanted to put something like that in there, you could put that as an additional expense paid to whomever. Again, you want to capture as much as you can so that what you give them is as close to what we give them at the very end. Water hold for agents, it's kind of limited to only a $200 water hold. That's our default. You could always play around if it's bigger. You could say additional water hold down in the additional expenses. And the type of insurance, I believe you can pick either the enhanced policy or the basic policy. 99% of the time, it's going to be the basic owner's policy for title. Any questions so far before I keep going? This might even be the last slide. It is. So I'm going to get out of here and we're going to go into the net sheet. All right.
So everything you've just listed on that slide is basically what you would input here.
Yeah. So, or if Janelle or I are doing it for you, sometimes people are like, "Hey, house in Cleveland for 109. What are they going to walk away with?" I'm like, "Okay, look, every property specific because I need to pull the taxes first of all. We need close dates because the close date is what's going to prorate that tax amount in." Like each county, again, Northeast Ohio is goofy. Each county basically accepts different fees. So like if it's way down south, our escrow fee might be less than it would be in Cuyahoga County. So by putting in this property address, it's going to lock in the correct rates that we charge for that area. And we'll just kind of get started. So if you can see my screen, you're in good shape. If you want to also maybe open up a separate tab, maybe kind of split screen these so you could kind of work at the exact same time I am, then you can kind of see if you come out with the same number I do. I suggest you do that just to make sure you're getting comfortable inside of this. So we're going to start with the house I used to live in Mayfield Heights. So we're going to go 1598 Hawthorne Drive, Mayfield Heights. So anytime you put in an address, you have to click on this to lock it in. That right there locks it into the system, is going to accept the right rates. If you don't lock it in and you were down here trying to do the taxes, it would say, yeah, no thanks. We're not going to let you do that. So you can't do it if you don't have that. And right now I'm in my personal account. So this is what you guys see. I have a couple other fields I can manipulate, but I'm showing you exactly what you see on your screen. So per sales price, I don't know, those houses have gone insane. I have no idea what it is. Let's just say 250 for fun. This thing's going to always go 30 days out. So in this situation, we're just going to leave it there, but you just click on the field. If you need a different date, you can toggle your months, you can toggle your years and pick a different date. You guys are familiar with those. Is there a water hold? Yeah, let's say yes, there is. This talks about the policy. If you don't know, I would just leave it basic unless you have a contract in your hand where someone chose the enhanced. But like I said, 99% of the time it's going to be basic. I would not mess around with any of this stuff right here. If you guys are familiar with what a reissue rate is, it's if a house has been sold within 10 years, they're basically going to get a discount if they present their former owner's policy to Ohio Real Title. But that's what this is asking for. Again, I would not mess around with that. Best case scenario, if they have done it within the last 10 years, they might get a discount, but you don't really need to mess around and show that right now. Let me get this out of here. Next field is loan payoff. So let's just say I had a $130,000 payoff. I just looked in my account. Reminder to all of you, which I'm sure we've said this before, what you see in your bank account, like in your mortgage thing, it's not going to be the exact same amount. That is showing you what your current balance is. It's not showing you what your payoff is. The bank's going to probably charge a couple little stupid fees in there, plus the interest that you've accrued this month, assuming you're closing, the next month. So that number is always going to be a little bit different. But if someone says, hey, I know it's 150 or 130, let's use 130 as an example. If someone says, oops, sorry, if they say, yeah, you know what, I also have 50,000 on my second mortgage, this is where you would put it right here. We're not doing it, but there is a spot if someone has a second mortgage, it's going to get paid off. Everyone still with me?
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
do you think just to build a little cushion would be smart to add a couple thousand to that loan payoff and maybe even, well, I'll ask when we get to taxes, but do you think that's smart or not a good idea?
Do whatever you want. Just tell
Okay.
them what you're doing and why you're doing.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be a couple thousand in most cases. It might be a couple hundred. But again, if somebody's literally scraping down to walking away with nothing, or they need a perfect amount of money, I wouldn't even put the payoff in. I
Okay.
would just say, hey, your payoff's about this amount. It might be a little bit different than, the exact number you say. I'm just going to let you take that off the bottom line. This way it keeps you out of trouble. You're not, the one who said, well, you said this, you said that. Just don't even add it. If
Okay.
if they're worried about hitting an exact, number down to the cent. And again, there's other variables. There could be a lien on the property. There could be something else out there that's going to pop up. These are estimates, and you need to tell people these are estimates. Once this is for pre-listing or your listing appointment, and let's get into it right now. You've never been in the house. You've got a pretty good idea of where it should be priced, but you have no idea about condition. So you think if it's in great shape, it's going to be 4. If it's a little dated, it might be 350. If it looks like it was owned by cats and dogs for the last 30 years, you might put it at 275. You could run, I would run at least 3 scenarios every time you guys go on a listing appointment, and bring all 3 and then pull out the one you think based off of your analysis of the home, which one's going to be most in line with the 3 estimates that you ran. Fair?
Yeah.
And I'll show you how to edit these to make it really, really fast once we're done with the very first one. So we're going to shut this one down, and we're going to go in. You don't have to shut them down. We're going to go into the real estate commission. If let's just assume we're living in a flat world. If you're bringing it to a listing presentation and you're going for the big number, so say you're just trying to go get a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or a 27, whatever you want, and you just want to put it in here, you don't want to specify what the buyer's agent's getting or what you're getting. You could just put in your percentage here and just leave it there. Okay. If you know you're going to take a 4 and you're going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you can offer buyer compensation. You don't have to. We can wait till we see, but they're like, no, I want to offer something. Be like, all right, great. So we'll give them 2. I'm taking 4. So you can do that. And then what is the standard KWGM additional commission?
Oh, transaction fee
49.
is
Yeah,
gonna be.
we can't call transaction fee anymore.
249.
Additional commission. What, I'm sorry, what did we say?
I think it's
249.
249.
249?
For sure.
249.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just use that rather than some teams have obviously completely different ones. So that's how we would do this. If we wanted to do it the other way. So I suggest you guys just literally back these out so there's nothing there at all, because it could kind of flip the system a little bit. Let's go ahead and assume that it's a split brokerage instead. So we're going to choose graduated rather than the flat. All right. And then here we could say, all right, I'm going to take a 3-2, and so is the buyer. That's how you do it. So first 100,000, above 100,000 too. If you have a different one, a more complicated one, like I said, you might have to hand calculate it, just because it is only giving us kind of the standard 2 split type of graduated. And then we'll put 249 in here again. So this is essentially a 6-4. How do you know that? You just add up the columns. Or let's say in a situation where you want to take a full 3, but only offer the buyer's agent a 3-2, you do a 3-3 for yourself, and they still get a 3-2. At the end of the day, that's a 6-5, because we're just adding these bottoms up, but you would not get your full 3 if you didn't put this other 3 in. If you put 0, you'd only get 3% on the first 100,000. Okay. So whatever your intentions are, we're going to put a 3-2. So I hope everybody's playing along on the same one. 3-2, 3-2, and 249 is what we're going for real estate compensation. Seller concession. Okay, my garage door broke before I sold the house, so they asked for 2% in a seller concession. You can put that in right there. Or if they said, hey, the new garage door is going to cost 1,500, that's what we're asking for in a concession, you could flip this from the percentage to dollar amount and then put a straight dollar amount in there. Okay. Because I'm a pain and I want you guys to do more work, I'm going to take this out again and we're going to go back to percentage and we're going to use the 2%. Okay. So make sure we're all following along at home. So there you go. Homeowners associations do not mess around with it. I don't mess around with it. We don't know what their annual fee is. We might know what their annual fee is. We might know what their monthly fee is. We don't know. They know they're current. They might want to show you something. You just say, look, this is an estimate. Again, you could kind of figure out if you're getting money back if you've paid for the whole year. I just don't want to give you bad information. And homeowners associations are always stupid. So as far as trying to calculate them. All right. So I would just steer clear of that. This is a new one. So I just saw this literally the other day. This would autofill the property taxes based off of what the auditor says. So we're just, I don't suggest using it because I don't trust it yet. Not because it's not good, just because I haven't tried it enough. So I'm going to always do this myself to see if the number's right. So eventually it might save me the next step I'm going to show you, but we're just going to do autofill, see what it says. And this is giving us the annual number, which if then we'd have to divide it in half. We don't know if it's actually been paid or not. So yeah, it's good for maybe giving us the number, but it's not great. So where are we going to find this information? This property is located in Cuyahoga County, so we're going to go to the auditor site. Are you guys all familiar with going to the auditor site? I'm just going to drop in this county here. If I could remember how to open this up. I'm going to drop in the Cuyahoga County auditor site. All right. So myplace.cuyahogacounty.gov is where we're going to be with that. And this is what it looks like when you get in there. These three buttons, if you're so fast, you might hit address and start typing and it wasn't done loading. So it might go back to parcel or owner. So make sure it's done loading. I like to search by address. Sometimes, I mean, this is also nice. If you're wondering where somebody lives, you can just search by their name too, if you know they live in the county. But for this case, we're going to use the address and we're going to use 1598 Hawthorne Drive, and Joe and Taylor still own it, who bought the house. So type it in there, click on the name or the address, and it's going to bring it up. So first thing we see here is the map. The map could be helpful if sometimes you just know it's a house on Hawthorne that had a FSBO up and you're trying to find it and you forgot the address. You can kind of start moving around and figure out which house it is. You could zoom, use Google Maps, all kind of fun stuff, but it's going to land you on the one you're looking for. So the most important thing for us is going to be tax by year. If you guys have never used this before, this has so much good information in here. Let me rewind to your listing appointments. If you're not pulling a tax and legal before each listing appointment, why? It's got the deed. It might have some comps. It's going to tell you who the real owner is, because you might have gotten a call from a child whose mom died, but they're not actually the one who can sell it yet, which would just bring some good questions on your part about where they are in probate, if it was a will, blah, 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 blah. But you can find all this information down and get a document list. I'm just going to show it to you guys real quick because this has the most current deeds, mortgages. It's fantastic. And it's going to go right to your parcel. And what I do is I go right to recorded date, and you got to hit it twice, and it'll give you everything by date. You want to make sure you've got the most current date on top. And you could look at the deeds, you could look at the current mortgage, anything you want there. And again, if you don't, and of course they spelled my name wrong, Rockcardo instead of Ricardo, pretty sweet. You guys can call me Rocky from here on out. But this way you know who the current owner is if you don't pull a tax and legal. Tax and legal will have this included in the presentation for you. Typically, if you ordered it early in the morning, you would definitely have it by the end of the day, usually much faster than that. But again, order tax and legals because they've got a lot of good things in there. So that's just me showing you one of the great things in there. Um, if you needed to
Perfect.
know
And
what the
real quick,
last, yeah, go ahead.
when you order tax and legals, is it just like to that order at
No,
taxandlegals.com?
I'm putting it in there. I'll put it in the chat right now. So for Ohio
Perfect.
Real Title, it is
Mhm.
legals at
Okay.
ohiorealtitle.com. And then all you have to do is request the address and they will get it over to you. If you want to copy your sales rep on it, you can. We don't do anything, but you could for sure, because like I like to see that you're pulling one. So I recommend you add us to it, but legals at ohiorealtitle.com is going to um, pull that, or it's going to, that's the email address. They'll send it right back to you. So transfers. Transfers is great if you haven't done that, because then you can see like what houses were sold for. I certainly sold right before things got hot, so I kind of got messed up there. But again, if you need to know what the last sale amount was, that's in transfers here on the auditor site. Now we're going to the meat and potatoes. So we're at the point of the year where most everybody's paid their taxes, most everybody, but not everybody. So if you see right here, this toggle is saying 25 pay in 26. We're not there yet. Those bills don't come out till like late December. So you have to toggle back to 24 pay in 25 because that's the year we're in, 25 still. And yeah, we'll stop right there. So that's that. So the half year taxes is the number we're looking for. All right. Now, if we go back here, 5,078.32, 5,078.32. So the good news is that the information was accurate, but we need the half year number because we're going to input this thing twice into the net sheet. So I copy it. Most important, let's go over here first. Balance due, second half, 0, right? We're in the second half of the year. We want to see 0. Even if we're in the first half of the year, some people choose to pay their entire bill at the beginning of the year, which you are allowed to do. So just make sure you're not click. So let's just say we're back in March and somebody paid their whole thing. I'll show you what I'm talking about in the next screen. Just pay attention to how much they've paid thus far. If you find one that has a huge balance due and it should be paid already at this time of the year, reach out to one of your partners, let them do it for you because there's going to be penalties. Some people haven't paid in years. And, you know, I wouldn't want you guys putting yourself in a bad spot by trying to calculate it yourselves if you're not used to doing that stuff. We have to do it all the time. So again, I'm copying this half year number and we're coming back to the net sheet and I'm going to drop this number in 2 times. So that's the first year or first half and second half amount. Here's the drop down box I was talking about. So if we saw that that number was still 5,078.32, it would actually be more because there'd be penalties. If we saw that that was still the number, you would say no payment made for January through December. If you have a close date of January 4th of this year, guess what? The mortgage company hasn't made the tax payment yet unless you see that it has been made. So those are really the only 2 situations, very, very early in the year, or they never made a payment the whole year, where you would choose no payments made for January, December. This next option is first half has already been paid. So again, getting all the way up from say mid-January till June, your assumption should be that they made their first half payment. How do you verify it? You look in the auditor site to make sure that they have, and that's how you choose it. For this situation, we see the taxes have been paid for the entire year. We saw a 0 balance, so that is what we're going to check. Okay. Again, this is where it gets complicated. So just hear what I'm saying. If your close date is into 2026, their taxes have not been paid the entire year yet, right? So at best, it would be the first half is paid. Say it's, you know, we're estimating a February 28th close date. That might be that scenario. But just remember, if you're going into a new year, that would not be the option, even if you're seeing all zeros. Call your sales rep if you have questions or have us do it. Just want to keep you guys safe. Just think about what year it's due for which year, and did they really make all those payments yet? But we're still good because we're using a close date in 2025. Have I, or how many of you have I lost so far? Are we good? I don't see any microphones going on, so we're good.
I forgot, yeah.
Other seller expenses and credits. So like I said, this would be the place where they're going to buy a home warranty, or the seller's going to offer one, or you on your listing presentation are going to tell them why a home warranty might be such a great idea for them to offer the buyer. Maybe they've got older appliances. You think this would really be something that the buyers would appreciate. What's America's preferred standard home warranty? Home warranty. Warranty.
$4.99.
Jeez, oh man. $4.99. Sorry, guys. I just ate and apparently I can't talk. So we'll put that in there. If you had, so, and again, if you guys are following along on your own net sheet, please type in, HW or home warranty and put in the amount. So we've now gathered everything we need. Okay. Unless, is there anything that you guys feel that is missing or something else that we should put in here to make it more complicated? No? Good. So we're going to calculate. And here's where your net is, okay? So we use the basis of and if you guys are doing it at home, did everyone come up with something or come up with the same number, or does anyone have anything different? And if so, we'll quickly run through where you might have done something that I didn't do. All right.
I got the same number, yep.
All right. Okay, good. So sales price 250, we input that. Doesn't show the close date until you do the PDF. But water hold, we said yes, there was a $200 water hold. So that's showing up there. Just a reminder, does everyone know what the conveyance fee is? No shame if you do or don't, because I'd rather explain it to you.
Please
Everyone?
No, you can explain it for me.
Okay, so the conveyance fee is basically like a county tax that all the counties collect. It's $4 per thousand. It's self-calculated. So we had a $250,000 house. So 250 times 4 is $1,000. There are exemptions to not having to pay a conveyance fee. One situation would be mom's selling the house to her daughter. So like parent to child, not aunt to child, not aunt to niece, but like parent to child could be exempt from a conveyance fee. Another situation that would be as if I bought the house in my name and I wanted to move it into my single member LLC, because it's basically not really changing too much. It's still me. It's just in an LLC. That might be an exemption. There's about 28 exemptions. It's insane. Don't get bogged down in that. I'm just explaining what it is, and that there are some situations where conveyance fee may not be applicable, but they're far and few between. We input this $130,000 payoff. I believe we did, what did we end up doing? The 3%, or did we do the 3.2? I already forgot. But whatever it was, we did the same for the buyer and the seller, and it came up at 6%. And here's the transaction fee. Here's the county taxes that will be a credit from the seller to the buyer. Again, why is the seller giving this money? Because from January 1st through November 18th or 19th, whatever that close date was, those are the taxes that have accumulated out of the 5,078 that would be from January 1st through December 31st. Okay, so that's all of October. That's all of January through all of October, picking up the 18, 19 days in November. That credit going to the buyer so they can pay your taxes or your seller's taxes on their behalf, because it is impossible for the seller to make that payment right now. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? That's still always the number one question on every single net sheet. All right. We did a seller concession of 2% off of the 250,000. That's showing up right there. And we also added the home warranty of $499. So we did it. Congratulations, everybody. I'm really proud of you that we got our net sheet completed. let's go up and see what the next step is. I love to download the PDF myself. It's clean. It's a one page. It's great. If you're going on a listing presentation, I recommend you do this. I still recommend the other option is you could email it directly to the client. Don't love this. It's just not as good. And sometimes you might not have their email right in your hand right now. So I'm going to download this. You just click it. It's going to drop in your download folder. Let's say this was the scenario where you're going on an appointment and you have no clue what this house is like. So 250 was like average condition, what you're kind of expecting. We're going to edit this. So the edit button, I hope you saw where I clicked that. It was right at the top of all those options. And let's say we're saying, you know, at this house, if it's a little nicer, it's going to be 275. That's all we got to change. Scroll back down to the bottom, hit calculate, and we're done. So now we've got our top end number here. Download that one. And then, you know, say I didn't do anything ever in this house and it's falling apart. And now we're going to go low end of 200 or 225. I'm going to use 200 and calculate, which is still 60,000 more than I sold for, and download PDF. So now
Rick,
you've
quick
got,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Mine isn't showing that I can download it or a flyer, so it doesn't have download or flyer.
Are you using a Windows or are you using Chrome?
Oh, I guess I'm not using Chrome now.
What are you
Crazy.
using? Is it at the
Right
bottom?
now, I'm no. Huh. I am using what is this? Microsoft.
Oh, like
Yeah.
Edge? It should still
Yeah, Edge.
show.
Yeah,
You
that's so
you
strange.
did hit calculate?
I hit calculate, yeah. Everything else shows all of the
Is anyone else
numbers.
having that problem? Because I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah, maybe it's just mine.
I'm
You
good.
broke you
Don't-
broke it.
Okay, if no one else having the issue, I can always just like reset, relog in.
Yeah, again,
Okay.
I've
Cool.
never heard of that. So maybe just refresh
Perfect, okay.
maybe just hit refresh and maybe whatever.
Mm.
So here's one
Yep,
good thing.
no
Here's
worries.
okay. So so we just did all that. Does anyone have any questions about editing any of the numbers or anything else? No? Good. You could name this. So it might not be a bad idea for you to name it. Obviously, it's going to save. So I'm going to show you the all estimates first. It's going to save as this address, but you can say you can save each one you do. So like let's say you ran 3 different ones and you wanted to edit each one, you could be, you know, listing appointment 275, you know, whatever. And you could save this. And then when we go into, hopefully it saved it. It should have. So we're going to go into all estimates now. And you see that it shows listing appointment and it still has the address right underneath it. So that's why I would do each one separately if you're going to do it, or, you know, whatever, it's still there. You can still go back in and edit it, but you're like, okay, great, I did this. I don't want to have to do it every single time I do it. So just go back in, click on it. If you want to wipe out the, you know, let's just say, you know what, I really don't need this anymore. It's great. I got the contract. We decided to go under or to list it for 285. You can update the number that easily. You found out that they can't move until, you know, literally New Year's Eve because they want to be the most difficult clients you've ever met in your life for both the title company and for your personal life. So we changed the close date. Everything else stayed the same. But if it didn't, you could change this stuff. Maybe you negotiated the commission. Everything is in there, except now my calculate's just spinning. See. All right. Well, in a perfect world, it doesn't spin. And you can calculate again, and it'll be right there. So I don't know what's going on with that right now. Maybe because I took the title out, but that's how easy it is to edit. And like I said, I don't know why that's not doing it right now. The next thing I want to show you, and before I jump, does anyone have any questions about any of this? Everyone's a rock star. You guys are going to teach the class next time. Okay.
May I
Good.
ask a tax question?
Yes.
If the parcel has just recently been reparceled and broken off of a larger parcel, and
Uh-huh.
there's absolutely nothing there for taxes,
Uh-huh.
what do you suggest we tell them? Just save some money.
Pray. So it depends. So the good news about parcels are parcels don't typically carry a huge tax burden if it's a blank parcel. So like new construction, new parcels, all these things have to be estimated by the escrow officer. So they basically work the numbers all the way through based off of the county's tax rate, the city's tax rate, off of acreage. I mean, it's like brain surgery. Don't even try to do it. If you want, if you want to be safe, use the old parcel and tell them it's going to be less than this, but this is like the worst case scenario for taxes. So you can always do that and just give them a worst case scenario based off of knowledge that's already out there. But I wouldn't try to figure it out yourself because honestly, I can't do it. So
Yeah.
I'd be guessing, or I would just say leave it blank and let them know there's going to be taxes. But once it gets into escrow, they're going to figure out an amount that seems to make sense based off of the old parcel. And if they're equal size, it might be about half. If it's much smaller, it might be a portion of, the existing parcel. So that's a really good question, and that's not a fun one to do. There is a tax estimator within each county website too. So like if you had wanted to give them a ballpark idea and say it was a parcel that sold for $40,000, you could go punch in the $40,000 estimator for the city or township within whichever county that is and give them that number. So that's also, one of those things that you could use. Which isn't going to kill you. Again, tell them until you are blue in the face that what you are presenting them is an estimate. I have found that if you do your estimate right and there's no other variables, these numbers are really darn close. But an estimate is an estimate is an estimate. And if you don't tell them that and email it to them and write it, take a damn red marker and write estimate on it when you hand it to them, it's an estimate. It's based, we just want them to get a good idea of what's going on here. This is not their final numbers by any stretch of the imagination. Any other questions on taxes or goofy situations or anything like that? Cool. All right. We're going back up the new estimate. So hit this drop down box. I mean, I guess it's not letting me scroll through oh, that's all of them. Okay. There's a lot of stuff here. I literally use title quote, seller net, sometimes seller to net, and buyer estimate. Title quote we're going to do first because you're not going to need any brain power to fill this one out at all. So we're just going to put in my address again, 1598 Hawthorne Drive, Mayfield
Oh, my
Heights. We're going to,
PDF did show up.
hey, there we go. All
Yay.
right, good news. Did you just have to refresh it?
Yeah. I just had
Oh,
to
okay.
refresh it a few
Yeah,
times.
that's
Mhm.
weird. I'm blaming Spectrum and the storms we had for any snafus we're having. So
Great.
we clicked on the address, so we locked it in. Now, when you do an estimate like this, you can choose the financing or cash. You're not going to be doing refinance, but let's do financing first. We'll use 250 again as the sales price. Loan amount, honestly, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. The only thing this does when we say that there's financing is that it adds in some different riders to the policy, which are called endorsements. So if you see an endorsement, just think of it as like a rider on your auto policy or a rider on your homeowner's insurance. It is giving basically the lender some extra coverages to make sure that should this thing go upside down, they've got all their bases covered. These riders or endorsements are not included on a cash transaction. Okay. So loan amount, whatever. I'm just going to put in a number so it doesn't get mad at me. Water hold fee, I don't even care. Oh yeah, I'll say yes because this is going to give both sides. So that's going to give us the automatic 200, and that's it. We're done. Calculate. And what this does is shows you both sides. So buyer side, seller side. The only thing it doesn't have which is why it's really easy, is it doesn't have the taxes. This is strictly fees, endorsements, recording fees, conveyance fees. So any of the fees, but not the tax, none of the prorations, right? Because we didn't have to choose a close date or anything. We're just, hey, I just want to know what the fees are. Just, give me a heads up. That is where you find it in title quote. And again, I'll show you where that is. Very top one, title quote. If you ever have an issue getting to this site, hopefully you guys bookmark it after today, but you could always do this. OhioRealTitle.com. Top right corner, instant quote. If you're on your phone, I'm sure it's in like a little 3-bar drop down, but this would bring you to the exact same spot that we're in right now. That's what people mostly just want to know. What are the fees going to be? And that's what I just showed you. Okay. Any questions about the title quote? All right, good. On to the last one. But we'll be kind of quick with this one. So, like I said, buyer estimate, we do not want to do this for a lender transaction. We don't know their fees, so this number is not going to be nearly accurate. This is good for cash buyers though, because there's no lender and most of the variables we're going to know. So again, 1598 Hawthorne, I picked a harder word to type, Drive. And I still got to do the Mayfield. Okay, so there it is. Lock it in. We're going to do cash, not purchase with financing. We're going to do 250,000. We're going to leave the close date as the 19th. Okay. This is a buyer's transaction. It doesn't really matter if you say yes or no for a water hold because that's a seller fee. It's not even going to show up here. So even if you put yes or no, it doesn't matter. I would just leave that, leave all this stuff. Here we go again, the property taxes. Same scenario. Now, in this case, this is what the buyer's getting. The seller's giving it to the buyer. So we do want to put this in, although this could be misleading also. If we're towards the end of a half, so like in this scenario in November, we may hold that buyer, the first half payment for 2026 and make that on behalf of the buyer. Just kind of ask your escrow folks, but this way you're at least showing them what's going on. So I'm going to come back and copy this 253916 and drop it in both places. And we know that the sellers made both payments for the entire year. So we've got that there. Let's say in this case, the seller was not paying a commission and the buyer has agreed to pay you because they like you so much, a 3% commission out of their own pocket for being so lovely. And then 249, oh boy, that's a lot. 249 for the flat brokerage fee. So we're doing a flat percentage of 3%, 249. Sure, let's say the seller's giving them the 2% again so they can see that. And then all this stuff here, HOA, don't touch, impounds, don't touch, lender fees, don't touch, other buyer expenses and credits, don't touch. Because again, we wouldn't want to put the home warranty here as like a credit or an expense. They're just not paying for it. So just leave that alone. All right. So if they're receiving a concession from the seller, if they are paying directly a commission, we always want to get those property taxes in there and have them accurate. And then that's pretty much it. So those are really the three things we need to manipulate and calculate. And this is going to let you know what the buyer is going to have due at closing. And you're like, why is that less than the purchase price? Because the tax credit was basically $4,500. So they actually would owe less than the purchase price because they're getting a tax credit from, doesn't mean they don't have to pay the taxes next year. I mean, money's money, whether they still got to pay their first half and second half next year based off that credit, but due at closing. One other thing that's not in here, which I find to be highly odd, we're going to go back and edit. So this is already one that you guys are awesome. You're giving them a good idea of what's going on. We're going to credit them because they already made their earnest money deposit. And they put down $5,000. All right. So it's not an expense because they already paid it, right? We're not adding to their bill. They already made their $5,000 deposit. And now they want to know, what am I going to owe now? And you just hit calculate again. So now that makes sense. It was 249. Now it's 244. So you could add in their earnest money deposit. It's just not a field that is shown on the buyer's estimate. Do we have any questions about the buyer side? Do we have any questions? Because as far as I'm concerned, we are good. Or any other questions that might be tangential to this conversation?
Are you gonna run through a seller to net real quick by any chance?
Hell yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Okay. Again, super easy. Somebody give me a number. How much does this seller need to clear?
75,000.
75K. So when you were asking before about a cushion, here is where I do add a little cushion, because sadly, this thing's not as good as I am. If I did it in Excel, it will give us like a number really close to it. So I'm going to just say like 75,500, because I'm guessing, just knowing the system, that number is going to come around 75,200. So it's not going to be perfect. But again, do we really want to have our seller like on the screws down to the penny on an estimate? No. But if that's like their bottom line, we definitely want to cushion a little bit on the seller to net. You could even bounce it up to 76,000 depending on your risk averseness. Again, it's an estimate, friend. This is how I came up with the number, but that's what we're doing. So property location. If you guys haven't remembered where I live yet, 1598 Hawthorne Drive in beautiful Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Closing date, we're leaving the same. Is there a water hold fee? Yes, we're going to do all the exact same scenarios we did last time. I think I said a 130 loan payoff. So why are we running this? Obviously, they have debts to pay, right? If they had a zero payoff, they could sell this house for $80,000, right? So obviously, they have to have something that needs paying off to hit a specific number. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, yeah, you can just sell it for 78, man. Like, wow, that's horrible, but thank you. So you want to make sure you capture what debts they need to pay off. They might have been working with their lender and know that they have to pay off some credit cards to meet their debt ratios on the other side. And maybe that's $50,000. So you could even just like say, oh, okay, well, I'll put your regular mortgage here. That other 50,000 that you need to come up with out of thin air, we're going to put over in this one, just so we kind of encapsulate all the debts that you need to satisfy to meet your new debt ratios, or to get in your new home, or maybe you really have a second mortgage. The real estate, I think we said just 3 and 3 or whatever. We're just going to do that with the 249 here. We're still going to do the seller concession of 2%. And we're still going to put in our property taxes both times in both spots. And we're going to say that the taxes have been paid for the entire year. And because I wanted to make this as hard as I could, we have the home warranty for $499. All right. So I think I've got everything in there. Let's go ahead and calculate this to see what number this is going to kick out. Oh, even came in lower. Look, I tried to give us a cushion of some money, and it's actually less than the 75,000. So look at this number first, that seller net, and say, okay, if I just had in 75.5, I'm going to bring that net all the way to 76, just so this thing works right. All right, so I changed our net proceeds goal to 76,000. All things stay the same. Calculate. And here we now see that we're going to clear at least $75,000 with the sales price, recommended sales price of about 287. So you're probably going to market somewhere around 3, I'm guessing. I don't know. Our water holds there. our first mortgage pay, our mortgage payoffs here. That other $50,000 they needed to satisfy is living right here because that's where we put it. We must have done a different scenario before. We must have done the 3-2. So this is what 3% looks like for the seller and the buyer's agent. We've got our 249 for the additional brokerage commission. Taxes are here. That should be the same numbers we saw before. Our 2% seller commission is bigger this time. Actually, that's why the commission is also. These are based off of percentages. We have a higher sales price before than we did at 250. So that's why the commission's greater because it's a percentage of, and so is the concession is bigger than it was before because it's a higher price point that we did in our first example, which also means that the conveyance fee is higher because now it's $4 on $287,000, not the $4 on the 250. So this thing's smart. It's going to take into account any changes you make. But that's how you do the seller net, or seller to net.
Thank you.
Does that make sense to everyone, how we did that?
Yes.
Good. Does anyone have any other questions or anything they'd like to see or hear?
So that second mortgage, is that what about a HELOC?
Yeah, okay. So that's what I described the first time we went around. If they had a first and a second, that's where you would put in your second loan payoff. Or if they told you, and again, you're reminding them it's an estimate, but they said, yeah, I've got 130 on my first and I've got 50 on my second. You could say, okay, so it's safe to say 180,000. You could just put it in one time as, a combined mortgage because we're giving them just an estimate. 130 plus 50 is the same as 180. We could put it in any way we want. In this situation, I just use that slot as other debts they had to pay to be able to purchase their new home. So we were just kind of doing different scenarios, but that is 100% where you would put a HELOC or some other home loan that they have that needed satisfying.
Okay, thank you.
Or let's say they've got both of those things and there's something else that needs paid off. Say they know they have a federal lien of $25,000. At least that's what they think it is until we pull it and there's interest and all this other stuff on top of it. But you could always, and we're just going to go back into edit. You could always add in anything else goofy down here. So another expense would be federal lien. They know it was originally $25,000 from 6 years ago. Guess what? That number is going to be dramatically different, but you're doing an estimate for them. So you calculate it and it's going to take that into account. Now we're going to probably be 315, 314 is now what they would need to sell the house for, to walk away with at least $75,000 and satisfy all of those things. If you've got something that starts getting crazy, just call us up too. We're happy to help you manage the chaos.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? If not, thank you guys. You've been a wonderful audience. I'll be here again Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. Please share that link with me. I know some other people said they want to see it. But yeah, if you guys have any other one-offs, I'll put my phone number, which you may have already put in there. You did. So mine and Janelle's numbers, same as Dave and Jen, are up higher in the chat. Jot those down if you don't have them handy and give us a call with any specific questions to the app, or if you need us to run one for you, or if you have any other questions or concerns about anything title related.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Rick. This was
Yeah.
super helpful.
Good. All right, guys. Thanks for your time
Yeah.
and your attention.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good
All
day.
right. See ya. Bye.
Links to come. Bye.